Alright, hey everyone, Mind Circus here with you. And what I am going to do here today is talk a little bit about integrating models with backgrounds. One of the things I think we all struggle with most is how to make the one image seem like it belongs with the other one. And really what I'm actually going to talk about is something that a lot of people don't actually consider, but I think can be probably one of your most powerful tools in your arsenal if you get to the point where you can control it. So, let's talk about it. It's actually one of the simplest ways to manage it. If we look on my screen right now, we are looking at the redhead in the pink outfit that I used in the first video tip. What we're going to do is we're going to try her against a couple of different backgrounds, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to really kind of hopefully take it to another level and get us to the point where maybe we can open our skill set up a bit and open our creative options a little. So, let's get started. I have her, and what I've done to this point is I have grabbed, obviously, the large resolution version of the image, and I've gone around the edges, and I've taken out the background. Now, anybody who might remember this picture, let's go ahead and just pop it real quick. Oh, well, I don't have it readily available. Yeah, I do. Give me 2 more seconds. And it is right here. So let's go ahead and open her up, and we'll take a look at the original version of the image. And as you can see, all I've really done here to this image is gone in and block most of the pink background out. Now, the number one thing you can do to help yourself in terms of marrying these two elements together, meaning the model and the background, the best thing that you can do for yourself is first spend some time looking for the right background image. We're going to take a look at what constitutes a good background image and what constitutes maybe a poor one, and let's actually do what I do best and start with the worst. And what I've got here is another pink background, and we will Control A, Control C, and we will paste that as a new layer, and for the sake of argument we are going to just bring it up there like that. Now, why doesn't this work? Well, you know, where do I start? Basically, its most glaring problem is one that we see on a fair number of avatars, and that is that these images just don't go together. It's an attractive enough background, it's an attractive enough model, but the color values are just absolutely horrid. And I'm sorry, but we see this all the time. How am I going to make her become part of this kind of pink? I'm going to take it into the lightest part, and I can't even do it. I can't even bring myself to be using this. So, I mean, let's just start there. Let's try and grab an image in the first place that is a lot more complementary to the model image that we may be using. So I'm going to show you another version. I'm just going to back out like I usually do. Control Z. And I'm going to grab another picture. And if we take a look at this picture, this is, you know, pretty standard avatar stuff, isn't it? So we'll Control L, and you know what? It almost immediately works. It immediately works because the color values are closer, the picture works a little bit better. So, I mean, at this point, I'm going to take a couple of steps to integrate this model into this background. So, I'm going to actually pull a bit of a trick here, and I'm going to blur these hearts a little bit with a Gaussian blur. fairly aggressive Gaussian blur, and then I'm going to merge the blurred layer down a little bit. And as you see, it kind of creates a nice effect where we can see both the blur and the other one. And I kind of like that. Now she herself is kind of sticking in. Let me point out one thing here. If we look at this area here that with the hair that I haven't really touched, there's a couple of different things we can do about that. But if you recall working big, when we bring this down to this level, that bit in the hair that's orange here and all gets lost in the pink, and really all we see is that strand of hair coming out. And again, it's because working big covers your mistakes, like I mentioned that before. So now that I have this, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate the model, and I am going to apply the Ghetto Glow. So I will brightness and contrast a duplicated version of the model. I will set her for white, and I will Gaussian blur that. I'm going to get really aggressive about this Gaussian blur, maybe at like a 21 or 22 pixel. We'll go for 20 pixels. And then we'll move that layer behind the model, and it's really subtle at this point, but we can start to see the way that she kind of glows and the hearts are kind of glowing. And all we've done here is just create a couple of blur layers. If we bring this up again, we'll duplicate the blurred layer to make it a little more noticeable. At that point, we're getting out of the realm that we were trying to get into. And this, again, we fall into this kind of trap all the time because we're trying to make her pop out. Well, you know what? She pops out just fine here with half the blur, half the glow around her. Now, this is really accomplished because we're not going crazy with things. We are roping ourselves in on our effects. We are thinking about our color values. Not everything is a fully saturated primary color. Okay? So, we're going to go ahead and just back our way out again. One more moment. And we're going to back our way all the way out until it's just her against the black again. And let's talk about taking this to the next step. Here's another image I found. Now I'm going to grab this and copy it, and I'm going to paste it. What you'll immediately notice is that image was such high resolution, it's even going way outside my 2000 by 2000. But I'm going to bring this down to the point where I kind of like the size of these bubbles against her. Now, let's be clear about something at this point. These colors do not work. I fully understand that. We're going to take our next step here. What we're going to do is we're going to take a look at this background layer, and we're going to go into a feature that every image editing program has, and we are going to adjust what is called the hue, saturation, and lightness. And when we adjust the hue, saturation, and lightness, let's actually go over exactly what we're doing. Really, the first thing that we're doing is we're adjusting the saturation of the color values. So this is about full saturation here, and when we start taking the saturation values out, we get a slightly more usable image because her dress is pink, sure, or even a peach, but it's not very saturated. Now, if we bring the lightness of this up, again, what we're doing here is not rocket science. We're just adjusting the color values. Now we've got the ability to colorize, and at that point I start becoming a lot happier with what I'm doing. It's interesting. She seriously pops out of it, and even pops out a little bit too much. Now I've taken that step. Let me take another step to kind of deal with this background image and maybe get a different effect that isn't those standard hearts and blurs that we were dealing with before. And what I am going to do is I'm going to create a new layer that is just a box that matches the color of her dress. I'm going to put that layer behind the circles, and I'm going to fade it, the circle layer. And what I get here at this point is something a lot more artistic, and I might even go as far as to say this suits the image better. The hearts didn't do it. These kind of jagged swirls go a little bit longer with the softness of her dress, but the hardness of her tattoos. I'm going to take the layer above it, and I'm going to duplicate it and toss a blur down on that. And I'm not going to go too far with it, maybe about a 5-7 pixel Gaussian blur. And I'm starting to like this a little better at this point. Now, it depends on how you feel about that graininess behind her. I kind of like it, but when we bring it down to an actual, avatar size, we're not going to see that fabric grain from the picture. What I will do, however, is kind of fade both of these layers down a little bit and see what I think. And you know what? I'm really starting to like that a little bit more than the same thing that we see with, hearts and blurs everywhere. I'm using, obviously, a blur, but there we go. Now, the next question becomes, can we take this to another step? Okay? I mean, it's one thing to do this with a very simple piece of line art. But what I really want to show you is how, being judicious about these things, we can get away with some pretty incredible stuff. What I have here is a picture of Paris, because when I looked at her, she kind of had that kind of flavor to her. And I'm just going to basically grab my selection tool and select a piece of the Eiffel Tower and surrounding landscape, and copy that to my clipboard. I'm going to go back to her. I'm going to paste that as a new layer. Obviously, I'm going to want that new layer, I believe, under her. Bold. And I'm going to bring that down a little bit. And then I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to go to my hue and saturation and lightness values. And I'm going to apply that. And I may actually desaturate it a little bit more and light it at just a tad more. Now we're talking. So I've grabbed a very complicated piece and put it behind her, and it does not distract, and it actually integrates kind of well, because it not only is the color value working, it's thematic. So I'm going to grab her at this point, duplicate her. I'm going to do the ghetto glow. So we will adjust the brightness and contrast, make her white, adjust the blur, Gaussian blur, put that behind her, probably duplicate it a couple times. And there we have it. She's kind of fitting in there. We get that kind of Euro retro appeal to the whole piece, which kind of was something that the model picture in the beginning gave me. I'm not even sure that glow is doing much at this point. We can toy with it, bring it down a little bit. And then I'm going to think at that point, about where I'm going to go with it. But again, all we're talking about is making sure that the images that go behind our model are of a color value that does not distract and preferably enhances her. So I hope that little trick has kind of set us in a certain direction. And again, if you've got any questions about anything, you know what, just hit me up on the forums.